Hey everyone, welcome to the Triple W podcast, aka the Triple Dub. It's episode 8. I'm Carita Parks and I'm joined by my lovely co-host again. We're back for another amazing episode and we have a great show in store for you today. So you want to definitely tune in. But like we always kick off our show, we got to talk about the song that we want to add to our Spotify playlist this week. So I'll tell you, I'm going to be in a more R&B mood this week, ladies. And I'm going to add Her, Best Part, featuring Daniel Caesar. Like, that's one of my favorite songs. And that's about it. Like, there's no explanation. That's just one of my favorite songs. It's a beautiful song. So I'm adding that to the list. Who wants to go next?
I would like to go next because actually my song is also by Her. I was going to choose Good to Me by Her. I won't go into details, but it's a Guys I Know favorite song. So he sent me it. So I want to, and I love that song. So it should be on the podcast.
Oh, excuse us. We got to talk about that afterwards, but okay.
I mean, not that I'm keeping track, but I feel like this is the third episode where somebody done said something about some love.
True.
So, just saying
the whole time.
Just saying. Now, I feel like there's a trend here, ladies, because the song that I have been vibing to this week also features Her. Is Jasmine Sullivan featuring Her. What is it? Girl Like Me. I love it. I love
that song.
I promise we did not coordinate this at all.
We did not coordinate this. We can coordinate the black. It's just
Brianna.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna be different, and my song is by the Queen Beyonce, and it is "Hello," the live version. And as you know, we've been talking, my songs this whole month have been kind of like a love journey. And so this one is just, again, saying hello to new opportunities, not only with love, but in life as well. And when you listen to it, you'll be able to say hello to Nikki on the drums. And you'll know what I mean when you listen to the song. So just listen to it.
You gave us some upbeat music. I knew Bree was going to come through. Well, make sure you check out that Spotify playlist. And at this point, we got to tell you who our special guest is. We have none other than Mr. Chris Miller. So I'm going to transition it over to Bree to give you a little bit of an intro.
Yes. So when you hear the name Chris Miller, you might think of him as the NBC Sports Washington's Wizards insider, or you may think of him as a very active father to all of his beautiful children, or you may think of him as a sneakerhead, or you may think of him from the other person in this photo that has been turned into a lot of hilarious memes that we've all seen. And also, he was the person that John interrupted in this viral clip.
Do you want to do the rest of this interview? Are you sure? Here, go ahead.
I ain't never, ever seen you act like this before. You getting buckets. How you feel?
Hey, I need you to turn down the court to build me a new court.
Yeah, because Bradley Beal getting buckets. I ain't never, ever.
That was probably an Emmy award-winning interview. I just lost my job.
Well, we're thankful he did not lose his job, and he is here with us tonight. Everybody, welcome Chris Miller.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. The Triple Dub podcast. I am honored and privileged to be on EP8. Can I give y'all my music, please? Off the jump?
Yes, please do.
Are we doing Her? Damage. There you go. So we're going to keep it the Her theme. I love that song. I heard her perform it Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago when she was on SNL, and just hit me. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. So R&B, smooth R&B is my genre, and she throws it back a little bit to the 80s just with her style. So creative, writes her own stuff. She was super dope at the Super Bowl, but that song "Damage" kind of hits her brother a little bit. So I was like, I'm sticking with you, ladies. I'm with Her. and the song is Damage.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hang with us millennials then.
Yeah, I ride with you.
Right in.
Yes, well, we love that. We're learning, even more about you already, Chris. Since you told us when we were off camera that you were a DJ in college.
Yeah,
So
try to pay those bills. So, I went to school as a music major, actually.
Wow.
And a buddy of mine, my freshman year, first semester, was like, bro, you sure you want to do music? Like, you know too much about sports, because we would just be sitting around on the yard just talking about sports, and I would just regurgitate all these stats that were just meaningless, right? And I didn't even realize it at the time that, I had a passion for sports. I played basketball a little bit, wasn't good. But music was my first love. My mama taught me, how to play the drums. My grandmother played the piano. So we were a musically inclined family. So he was like, well, just come to class with me one day just to see what sports broadcasting was all about. And I was like, well, okay, I'll try it out. And it just ended up being something that kind of was forced on me because of a friend of mine, Dale Foster is his name. My guy kind of pushed me into that direction. But yeah, music's my first love. I used to DJ. Used to be known as the smooth operator on 89.7 FM WISU at Indiana State University. So that paid the bills until it was time to make some real money.
There you go. That's an amazing story.
that's great. And as you mentioned, your family, when we first met, Chris, I was wearing my shirt that had my alma mater, Winston-Salem State University, on it.
Oh, wow.
And you were like, I'm from there. And from that moment on, you have always had my back, and I appreciate that. So I want to
love
say
and
thank
respect
you.
always.
Yes.
Always got to take care of the Rams. My mom is a proud alum of WSSU. I'm from the great city of Winston-Salem. And when I saw that shirt, you just don't see it, right, Bree? You don't see it a lot around town. And I just remember being in the practice facility, and you walked in, and I saw WSSU, and it was just like, hey, I got to go talk to this sister. I got to let her know that she's repping a great university in a great city.
Yes. And for me, I only spent 4 years down there. But, like you say, you grew up there. I mean, what about that city has really molded you into who you are today?
It just keeps you grounded. Even though the lights are on you, doesn't mean that you have to act like the lights are on you. You know what you mean? You know what I mean by that? So I was just kind of taught that, you come from humble beginnings. Remember where you came from. As you know, Bree, we're the home of Krispy Kreme donuts. Shout out to Krispy Kreme. So, we've had some special people and some special things come out of that tobacco country. And I'm just really proud to be from there. So it was a no-brainer when I saw you with that sweatshirt. I just wanted to just come over and kind of just, introduce myself, but, be somebody that you can lean on, because I know that, you're in this broadcast thing now, and I don't have to tell you ladies, this is a really tough business. It's a really tough business to stay. And you just kind of need people that you can lean on a little bit to just be like, am I doing the right things? What are you seeing? I've had mentors my whole career. I've been in this business 24 years. So I still lean on my mentors too. So I just wanted to provide that, fellowship. If you needed anything, just reach out.
Yes. And I've loved it. Thank you. And speaking of over, time away from your interests outside of sports, since you mentioned music, we've also seen that you are a great dancer, and I've been able to see you.
Yes, you.
I've been able to see you at the Friday night concert series, see you live in action in person, and see your moves during.
You have
I
seen
can
me.
confirm.
Hey, look, no alcohol either. I was working.
Right.
I just took the tie off and just enjoyed a little music, but there was no inebriation in that. I was cool.
Right.
Those concert series, you can see everybody.
Oh, yeah. Don't think I haven't seen some of y'all in the cut too. Don't think just because y'all was seeing me, I was seeing you.
Bree and I have stayed at a lot of concerts afterwards, so I'm sure you've seen something.
Yes. So what are some of your other hobbies outside of basketball and dancing?
My wife and I are parents of 8 kids, so that's a hobby, right? Keeping up with them jokers. As you said before, I like sneakers. Although in 2020, I really wasn't out there really seeking a lot of them because, this pandemic had me kind of inside the house. But sneakers is a kind of side passion project for me, just because I just love like just the designs, you know, anything Jordan, I'm all about it. Music, I'm trying to think what else. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's kind of a full plate, man, when you consider, you know, the kids and, you know, obviously this job. As you know, trying to find that work-life balance is always difficult in this business, but I feel like I figured it out the hard way. Man, 2020 really kind of taught me to kind of find balance in your life, because, you know, we work so much. And the one thing that I did learn last year was, you know, if you take a step back and just kind of breathe, going to everything and being everywhere, it's going to drive you crazy. So I think that's pretty much it. Kind of a simple dude. You know, I love my music. I love jazz. I mean, really any genre, you know, I listen to. Yeah, you know how y'all are. You're in the car and you just start listening to whatever because you're in there by yourself, right? I know that. And, you know, sometimes I'll just, you know, take the phone and just plug it in and just hit, you know, shuffle. So I could go from BB and CC Winans to Metallica, like just like that.
Yeah.
And if you're in the car with me, you're like, man, are you okay?
That's just like, as a passenger, that's like, oh, okay.
Right, like you going from gospel to heavy metal? Are you all right?
Well, I think that you'll enjoy our Spotify playlist then, because we have a lot of different types of music on there as well. So,
well, you guys said her, and I was like, oh, this is the kind of group I want to be a part of. Then.
Was not planned.
It wasn't.
So really quick, I want to do some rapid fire questions with you, Chris, before I wrap up. So, who was your favorite player growing up?
Michael Jordan.
Which team do you not mind seeing lose right now?
The Boston Celtics.
Yes.
I hate the Celtics. When we whooped their tail on Sunday, I was like, yes.
I was saying you were happy on Sunday.
I was turned up Sunday for real.
Yes. Your top 3 favorite wizards.
Ooh.
Stumped him.
John, Brad, and Gilbert.
Easy list.
That's a good list.
Yes, that is. Good. So we're all about women empowerment here. So
Absolutely.
Who has been your favorite woman to work with? I know that's hard.
Kara Lawson.
Yes.
She was always so great. We miss her.
We do.
That's my sister. You know, it's so funny. Her birthday was on Valentine's Day, and I sent a message to her. Her sister reached out to me, was like, hey, can you send a message to Kara? And I told her, I said, she is the embodiment of Black excellence. And every time that I talk to her, I learn something. Think about that. Like, if you have a friend that you talk to, and we talk at least once a week, and I hang up the phone and I go, you know, I never thought of it that way. You know, that's how smart she is, right? And I told her that, and she kind of laughs at it, but I'm just like, you know, it's very rare that you're around somebody that every time you talk to them, they make you think of something and go, she's really smart. So that was kind of an easy one once I thought about it.
Perfect. Yeah, we all love her.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yes. And I know you celebrate Kwanzaa like myself. Which principle would you say that the country needs the most right now? All of them.
Now, see, if I'd have said that, then y'all would be like, come on, Chris, you got to pick one. But I think you're right, Bree. I think it's really all of them. There's just so much going on, right? We've unfortunately we've figured out in 2020 that we got to do better.
Yeah.
Right? I think so many times we think of like just us and that kind of our circle that we just really don't think about the person in front of us or the person to the side of us. And I just hope, like, moving forward from this life lesson, we learn that it's not just about me, right? It's about us. And I just never understood why the mask was an issue, wearing a mask. That kind of bothered me. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand why it was a political issue if at the end of the day, me wearing the mask would actually protect you, all of you.
Right.
So I would say all of them, every principal, add some too.
Yeah.
Right.
And then my last one was the Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts, which I already knew, but you already answered it. So
No, I'll follow up. Not only is it Krispy Kreme, but when that sign says hot brie, what time is it?
That's
What
right.
time is it? Y'all know what time it is.
Yeah.
Have you ever driven by Krispy Kreme? Has it ever happened to you? And you look,
Yeah.
you already know what I'm gonna say.
And you had no plans on going to Krispy Kreme, but that light is on.
You gotta go to Krispy Kreme when the hot sign is on.
When that hot sign says hot.
Let's go.
The smell is so good. You just can't help yourself. I mean,
Have y'all ever gone in and just see it go through the process?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? When they put that icing on there, you're like,
It really is.
So good.
Chris, I need you to be honest. How many have you ate in one sitting at one time? How many would you say?
y'all like, wait a minute. Y'all not gonna judge me. Y'all not judging, right?
No judging.
You don't have to answer
They
that.
go by
Is
fast.
this a safe space? Is this a safe space where we can keep it 100 in here? Probably 8.
That's not
I've done
too
worse. I've
And
done worse.
if I was really like wanting to like finish them off,
I remember having 3 Krispy Kreme donuts, thinking I was just going to eat 2. I killed all 3 of those, and I was like, "Man, I should have had more."
I would have inhaled them. I don't know. So good.
they are. There's something in them. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna do some investigative reporting, and I'm gonna find out what they put in them.
They put
donuts.
crack in the donuts. That's gotta be. It's gotta be. What else would it be?
Who knows? Whatever Starbucks puts in their coffee, but
Yeah.
you know, Chris, we want to talk a little bit more. I mean, you are a GOAT in this industry, especially in the DMV. So we would be remiss if we didn't talk to you a little bit more about your career and just get some insight from you. And you touched on this earlier about how you got into sports journalism, but in that process, who were some of those influencers and mentors that helped you along in your journey?
Okay, so when I was in school, when I finally decided that, you know what, I'm gonna leave the DJing alone and I'm gonna get serious, because my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were expecting our first child. I was like, I got to get to work. It's time to grow up, be a man, take care of my responsibilities, right? So I did an internship at the local CBS affiliate, WTHI-TV in Terre Haute, Indiana. And when I went in for the interview, and you ladies will appreciate this, you know, I grew up in a single parent home. So my mom, she had me when she was 17. So, you know the story, 2 strikes against me as you come in, you got to get out and go get it. No, nobody's going to give you anything. So I remember her always telling me, you never know who you might meet. Prepare for success. And what she meant by that was at least look the part when you're going for a job, right? So I remember I was interviewing for this internship, and I walked in there with my church suit on, and I went to the front desk, and the lady kind of looked at me, and she's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "My name is Chris Miller. I'm here for the internship interview." And she kind of looked at me, and you guys are gonna laugh. So I interviewed over the phone, and as you guys hear me talk, there's a perception of what I would probably look like when I get to the interview. Okay. So the voice didn't match the person. And the lady at the front desk was kind of like surprised. And that's happened several times, which is, whatever, it happens. So I go upstairs, I meet with the people at the station, and they're basically telling me what the intern entails. And they were like, "Well, what do you want to ultimately get into?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to be a sports broadcaster." And they're like, "You should meet this guy named Mike King. Mike King is the sports director there. He was the sports director there, and ended up being my mentor." And I walked into his office, I extended my hand, and I said, "Hi, Mr. King, my name is Chris Miller. I want to one day be a sportscaster. I'm here interning." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina." And he just stepped back and he was like, "I'm from North Carolina." So that was the immediate in. That was like the instant connection. And from that day on, he taught me the business. And one thing that he was really a stickler on was attention to detail, and kind of just taught me the business from the ground floor. And he said, you know, before you come up here, you need to work in production. Production? Like, what's that? So the very first job I had in TV was running the teleprompter. I made $4.25 an hour. So I started ground floor, the most entry level position you can have. So I'm like, man, why am I doing this? Didn't question it because, you know, brother had bills. So I was like, whatever y'all need me to do, I'll do it. So I didn't realize it at the time when he was teaching me. So 6 o'clock show, 10 o'clock show, 11 o'clock show, I would be running the teleprompter for the anchors to read. Well, guess what that was doing? It was teaching me how to read the teleprompter because I'm sitting here following along, right? So at the time, I'm getting like real life experience of how to read a teleprompter. So while that happened, I was doing the internship, getting my credits, also getting paid. So it was kind of like a double. It was a way. I loved it. I'm like, whoo, 2 for the price of 1. So after the 6 o'clock show was over with, then I would go upstairs and I would start learning how to stack a show, produce a show, cut, and write. So I'm basically doing everything that Mike was doing. And, you know, I'd be messing up and he would correct me, and he was hard on me. Look, I think he saw something in me, the way that I attacked the interview. Right. The way I came in was like, I presented myself as somebody that wanted to be there. Right. So he was really hard on me, but 24 years later in this business, I still thank him today for giving me a foundation. Right. Yeah. Make a long story short, after school, I'm sending out my tapes. I want to just go anywhere, right? My dumb self, first resume I ever sent to was San Diego, California. I was just like, oh, I'm going to San Diego. I got a rejection letter, but it was nice. They were like, hey, get some experience and then reach out to me again. All right. So in 1997, my first job, I'm working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. First TV job out of college. They had like 4 black people like in the whole state. So it was crazy.
I believe it.
I'm like, girl,
I believe it. Right.
I get there. I worked there for 2 years, and then something just amazing happened. The main sports anchor, he left and went to San Diego. So the opening for the sports director job, which is Monday through Friday, opened up, and the news director gave me the job. She was like, you know, you've worked really hard for 2 years. We're going to make you our Monday through Friday guy. At that point in my life, I was 26, right? And I'm working Monday through Friday. So I ended up working there 2 more years after that. And then in 2001, I got a job in Cleveland, Ohio. Worked there for 2 years, and then it happened again. Sports director leaves, they moved me up. So for the next 4 years, I was the main sports anchor at the ABC affiliate in Cleveland. Then in 2007, I moved here. Kind of the rest is history. I have, this is the best job I've ever had. I don't even really consider it a job, but I am so appreciative of my journey, right? This wasn't just like handed to me. I come from the mud, right? So not only in my life, but in my profession. So that's why, you know, I appreciate so much, you know, you ladies calling me the GOAT and all that. But I just want people that's listening and watching this to understand, I came from something. I came from making no money and took the steps to get me here. And that's what's made me sustainable, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. And I want to piggyback on something that you said, because you talked about, you know, working your way up. And so many people see the glitz and glamour of where you are now. And they're like, oh, he gets to talk to Brad. He gets to talk to John. He gets to talk to this person. But is there a moment like in your journey, in your career, that you consider like most challenging? Because I feel like people need to also, you know that too.
Making no money. Now, to be honest with you, you know, I think that my first job out of school, I made $26,000, and it was like I had a wife and a kid.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So
That went quick.
Baby, them pork and beans taste good tonight.
We were shortchanging you.
You know, that's kind of the reality of it is, you know, making ends meet while you're trying to achieve your dream of, you know, moving up. I would also say just, you know, this is a cold business. You know, it's not, yeah, I think you said it best. Don't get it twisted by the glitz and glamour and seeing the interviews and stuff like that. But
Right.
you have to, first of all, you need to be good. Second of all, you need to be lucky.
Mhm.
Third of all, you need to have somebody that just believes in you. And the one thing that I tell a lot of the people that have kind of interned with me and have worked for me in the past is all it takes is one person to like you. It takes one news director, or it takes one, you know, program director. So it just takes one person.
Yeah.
But it's up to you once you get that opportunity. How do you make the most of it? There are going to be a lot of nights where you go, I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But if you're about that grind, and if you're about going out and really go getting it and earning it and not having it just given to you, you appreciate it so much more. Like I mean, damn, let me keep it 100 here. I'm so honored to talk to you four ladies tonight. Like, this is just as cool as doing an pre and post game show on NBC Sports Washington, because this is a platform that I can really like express myself about, like the journey and what it means to be here and bringing somebody else along, right? Bree, you know, I got you. You know, Bree and I have had some conversations online about just how to handle some things. And it's like, you have to have kind of like that support system.
Mhm.
Also, you need a little bit of luck, a little help, and then you need some love behind you that's going to push you forward. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the challenging part of it.
Right.
But don't get it twisted. No, I love doing the interviews, and I love what I'm doing right now. But it came from a place where, you know, I had to go get it.
Exactly. That's why I think it's so important for people to hear. It's like, you really do have to work. But like you said, you're here, you've had some great moments. So let's talk about, is there a season or an era that you've covered that is like one of your favorite moments? And if so, why?
So every year has been like, there have been moments, like good moments. Now, there have been some bad ones. We've had some seasons here now. I would say, you know, when I first got on the beat, that was when Gil, Karan, Antoine, Brendan, Deshaun, AD, all of them, that era was really cool because, you know, we played the Cavs 3 years in a row in the first round and had doggone LeBron beat us all 3 years, but it was fun though, right? 2 of those 3 years were great. That first year, you'll laugh, I actually covered the Cavs that season. I was in Cleveland for the first year of the Cavs and Wizards. So I saw the Wizards from a different perspective.
Right.
You'll laugh. I actually picked the Wizards to win that series, and I'm working in Cleveland. And I'm like, oh, I like the Wizards because there's just something about that team I liked. I thought it was a bad matchup for Cleveland. And LeBron got a few breaks and everything like that. The second year was the year that everybody got hurt. And the Wizards, I think they got swept that year. Antoine was like the last one standing. Karan broke his hand. Gilbert had the knee issue. Brendan was hurt. And then the third year was probably the funnest year. If you guys remember, that's when Jay-Z dropped the diss track. And then
Soulja Boy.
Deshaun Stevenson crossed Soulja Boy. That was fun because it was like the games were cool, but the drama outside of the game was just so much better.
Having Soulja Boy like courtside, like that was insane. Like nobody paid attention to the Wizards, but like we got
Becca, I didn't even know who he was. I was like, why is everybody making a big deal? Who is that? They're like, oh, yeah, they're like, oh, that's Soulja Boy. I'm like, who is that? And then I heard the song and I was like, oh, that's him.
I was like, you don't understand. That's Soulja Boy, okay?
Right. And at that time, he was huge.
He was.
Yeah. So that era was really cool. Then the guns happened. That was not cool. And then the John era started. And for the last 10 years, I mean, that has been, I have never covered an athlete more extensively than I did with John for 10 years. I mean, every move, he made, I was there. And it was just a great. And then Brad came 2 years after that, and then they were off and running. I like the Whitman years. Whit was hard on them. Like the Wizards played defense when Whit was here. Like Whit didn't mess around.
Yes.
Defense.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And he didn't want to hear nothing we were talking about media wise. He was. That's a stupid question. Hey, whatever.
Next question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you.
That era was really interesting because that's when we had Gortat and Nene. It was a physical team, right? Like Trevor Ariza was here that first time. And then you had the babies with Wall and Beal. I remember that first year that they made the playoffs in Chicago and we won that series in 5. I was like, oh, we're on our way. And then, obviously the injuries happened with John, which sucked. And then
so unfortunate.
Yeah, I just wish if there wasn't the injuries, like what would we be talking about on this podcast today?
It's always
right?
We all wonder.
We all wonder.
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Chris, just to just wrap it up, you talked about your sustainability, and I just want to ask you, is there some advice that you could give up and coming young journalists who want to be in this business? What advice can you give them about longevity? Because you've obviously done something right.
Evolve or die.
That simple.
I really didn't get into the whole Twitter thing when it first started. I'm like, what is this? I don't nobody care. I woke up this morning, brushed my teeth, put my shoes on.
That's how I felt too.
You know what I mean? When it first came out, I was like, what is this? But if you don't evolve and understand where the trends are going, you're going to get left behind. And you'll laugh about this, ladies, but I've even gotten into TikTok. Like TikTok to me was like the dumbest thing ever. But during the pandemic, my daughter Maya was on it, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, this is TikTok. You should do it." And I found myself, old as I am, going, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I actually like that." But to answer your question, it's about evolution. It's about learning, writing, producing, doing podcasts, whatever genre you can just put your feet in and just make it work. Do that, because that sustainability makes you marketable now, which now, before, if you could just read a script and you had a decent voice and you looked the part, cool. Now you have to do all of that and also be able to produce, write, edit. The more you can do, the better. I think it helps you. I mean, my oldest son is in the game. He's a broadcaster in Washington State, and he speaks fluent Portuguese. So he's ahead of the game, right? Can speak Spanish also. So I'm like, bro, you can make so much money by being like a translator and telling people what they're saying. So it's all about, and that's what I've kind of taught him is like, do as much as you can. That way, when you're sitting in that interview and they're talking to you and they go, "Can you do this?" You're like, "Yes." Can you? Yes. Yeah. The more you say yes, the better chance you have of getting that job.
Yeah, it's all about being multifaceted these days.
Listen, Chris, you're giving us so many gems, and we're getting ready to move into the Wizards topic. And I have to take a moment here to just reflect on this moment, actually, because while you're honored to be here with us, we are extremely honored to have you here. This is a milestone that we should celebrate. We have the Chris Miller on the Triple Dub, and you're our first interview. So we're
first
in history. You're in Triple Dub history now, okay?
Thank you.
So
I'm honored too.
Yes, no, this is amazing. We got to get into the Wizards, and you just mentioned John Wall. Now we can take you through how we felt that moment when the rumor started. The Wizards are looking to trade John. John's not getting traded. Then it happens. It's like the shot heard around DC. John Wall is being traded to the Houston Rockets. Russell Westbrook is coming here. We all know that you have covered John, like you said, extensively his entire time in DC. Can you share a little bit like with us how you felt when you heard that John was in fact being traded to Houston?
So it's a two-pronged reaction. Before it happened, we heard the rumors. We all heard the rumors. We knew that, I even reported where there's smoke, there's fire, because I knew that there was something up. But I still didn't want to believe it. I thought that once cooler heads would prevail, that it was just rumor and we could go back about our business. But I think the night he got traded, it was like around 6:30. He called me at like 7, and I'm sitting in this chair in this office and he called me, said, "I'm out. They just traded me to Houston." The friend-brother relationship, I was angry. The reporter is, I've got to do my damn job. That was hard. Living in those two spaces mentally was hard, because while I understand that both parties needed to move on, he's meant too much to this city just to let him go. But I did understand the business side of it. It was time for both parties to move on. Okay. But it was still hard. And I just remember seeing him in that Rockets uniform. And I don't know if this happened to you ladies, but for me, when I saw it, it was jarring.
Yeah.
It was.
It
was very.
Like he's
That's not right.
he's not supposed to.
He's on
Yeah.
the wrong team. What is he doing, that goofball?
Yeah, it still doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. So, we dealt with that emotion. Then there's the emotion of, we're about to play them for the first time in Houston. So I remember interviewing him. It was like 2 days before we played him. And there's so many things going in my mind, like, how do I want to get his message out? I really want him to kind of just explain it without me trying to lead the witness, so to speak, right? So he spoke from the heart. He said he felt like that they didn't want him anymore. And I've said this a lot during that time, is that's how he feels. It might not be right, but that's how a person feels when he's been traded, right? If we lost our job, we probably feel a certain way, and our emotions are our emotions, right? So he was like, I feel like that they didn't want me anymore, blah, blah, blah. And he just had that look on his face. And if you've been around him long enough, you know that the littlest thing has motivated him for 10 years.
Right.
Now imagine dealing with something this big, how it's going to motivate him. So that was interesting the first night. Last night, when we played the Rockets the second time, it wasn't that emotion anymore. The emotion was families coming home. And I said on our post-game show, damn COVID, for not giving us the chance for everybody to be in the building.
Exactly.
All of y'all would have been in the building, right?
Certainly.
When they play that tribute video that they did, the camera was going to be focused on him, and the roof would have came off of Capital One Arena.
For sure.
And I think that would have been like the ultimate closure on it. He's still going to be family. But now we're going to kick his butt every time he comes to town. Right.
Right.
So we didn't get that in the second game. So hopefully when this pandemic is over, when he comes back, the organization does it again, and he gets his proper thank you.
He deserves it.
Yeah. And I love what I asked him after that game about the whole situation, and he was saying when he comes back, he's looking forward to purchasing tickets for all the employees of and I thought that's amazing,
Well, you'll love this. So you remember they played the Knicks, and then he was home for a day. They had kind of a get together, socially distanced, with some of the people that have worked for John over the years at his house, and just kind of employees where he could just come and say thank you, because he didn't get a chance to do that. When you get traded, you get on a plane, you go to the next city, so he never really had that chance to say thank you for his employees. So that kind of just speaks to who he is. But yeah, every time he comes back now, we got to whoop that tail. We love you, but we try to get that win.
Exactly. We love you, John.
But
go Wizards. But you know what, Chris? You have such a great relationship with the players. And sometimes we always hear about players don't want to talk to the media. You know, there's an issue between players and media. It does not seem at all that you have had that issue. You are just always building that camaraderie with every player that comes in the building. How do you go about building that trust and that relationship with the players?
It's kind of like having a relationship. You have to be consistent. You have to be there. You know, Bree will tell you, I don't, well, before COVID, I don't miss practices. I mean, when they have a practice, I'm there. And I've been doing that, you know, my whole career. You know, my mentors over the years have always taught me that you have to respect them as people first, as opposed to being in awe of what they do. And I think once I finally got out of that stage, I think it happened in Cleveland when I was covering LeBron James in high school. Like, I saw that when he was 16. What everyone is seeing now, I saw that when he was 16 years old. And I have to admit, at that point, I was just like, oh my God, what is this supernova that's in front of me every day that I'm seeing? And you get to a point where, you know, covering athletes is actually a very simple thing. If they know that you're not out to get them, like, gotcha, you'd be surprised how much you get to learn about them. And I've always been this way. This is something that I was taught early, is athletes don't like really talking about what they do. They really don't. Like, it's some of them do, but I would say the large part of them aren't really comfortable talking about their job. It'd be like all of us talking to people on the street about what we do. At some point, you're going to be like,
Don't like that.
Yeah.
you know, like going to the mall. You know, I will say this, like, when I go to the mall and people recognize me, I figured out how to kind of flip it now, where they're like, hey, they might not know my name, but you know what they say? Hey man, you're the Wizards guy. What's up with the Washington football team? I get that a lot.
Oh my God.
I laugh. I'm just like, but I always ask them what their name is. What's your name? And it's kind of like a way of kind of getting them to understand that they're just like I am. You know, if I'm here with my kids and my wife, and we do, man, I figured out like that way with athletes too. So it was a great question that you asked, but it's about building a relationship. Like, if I have to do my job, and if you go out and do something stupid, I got to do my job. But just don't do nothing stupid. Then that way there won't be an issue. But I just feel like a lot of times in this business, we're so quick to illuminate the negative in athletes, where we don't really look and see, well, who are they? Where did they come from?
Right.
Why are they that way? Like, those are the things that I've always been curious with. And it's worked over time because it's a defense mechanism, right? Like, athletes normally don't want to talk. But when you tell them, hey, where are you from? You know, how did you get here? Who were some of your influences? You know, when you talk to them that way, they kind of break down, you know, the wall a little bit. And I thought Russell Westbrook would be the ultimate one to do that. And I remember when he first got here, we talked for a half hour, and I was like, he's not like what he's being portrayed in the media.
He's not.
Exactly. He's not.
He's really not. And I was like, man, he's got 3 beautiful kids. He's got a set of twins. He's a devoted father. And his why not stuff, we got into that. It was like really deep because I wanted to know. And I was like, tell me what why not means. Right. And you should have saw how he kind of just, it was almost like he was like, and then he just went into talking about it. And it was just, he talked about, like, you know, mental health is part of why not and all that other stuff. So that's kind of how it's worked for me over the years, is really to try to get to who these people are, not just what they do. Tell me why you missed your jump shot tonight. Right? I mean, anybody can ask that. It's
Exactly.
more of the other things that really like matter to them.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Now the Wizards are coming off of 2 big back-to-back wins. back to back against the Celtics. We gonna cheer for that again, and we had to beat the Houston Rockets last night.
Love you, John, but you had to get that tail kick.
Had to. But we've seen some rocky roads this season with the team. Chris, what is your opinion on what some of those issues are and what could be going on and why it's taking a little bit more time for the team to gel?
Great question. Before the health and safety protocols and COVID hit, this team was 0-5. Okay, so there's kind of like three different segments that I'll talk about. The 0-5 start was unacceptable. We couldn't guard nobody.
Not a parked car, like Brad said.
As Brad said, we couldn't even guard a parked car. I'd take it a step further. We couldn't guard nobody in a phone booth with the door open. Like, we got to do better, right? Just couldn't guard, right? Russ was hurt, dealing with a quad injury that he sustained during training camp. So all these things kind of like piled up. Then COVID hit. I mean, we had 6 players with coronavirus, and coming out of that, that's difficult because, as you know, listen, I'm not Dr. Fauci, but I do listen to him. Everyone kind of comes out of COVID differently. I mean, we just heard the other day, Jason Tatum admit that he's still having a hard time, breathing. I mean, he's still having the effects, and he had it a month ago. So the fact that the Wizards had 6 players in COVID, all those games postponed, and then trying to get them integrated back, not only physically, but mentally. Like, think about that. Like, again, that goes back to the question you were asking me about, cultivating relationships with athletes, is also the understanding that, there's a reason why they're not playing well. What is it? Let's get to the crux of that. And the fact that it was coronavirus was just really difficult. So I think those are the 3 things. Bertan's not being in shape by his own admission, coming back after getting that bag. And guys just not locked in from the beginning of the season is the reason why they were in the position that they're in. But these last 2 games, the fact that they defended so well against Boston, that's kind of like the standard that I'm looking for from now on. You can defend, just go watch the Celtics game, right?
Right.
Or you can get back in that track meet that you're normally, first to 120 against the Rockets. You could play that way too. So, they can play different styles, but I feel like when they're defending and they're engaged on that end of the floor, they can win their fair share of games.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, they proved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No excuses now.
Right.
So, Chris, before we continue the Wizards talk, I just want to say shout out to Chris because I'm going to take it back to a few years ago when I was just a fan on Twitter. Chris has evolved, he's on Twitter. So one game, I think it was like the Bullets 40th anniversary game. My friend got my dad and I backstage, and my dad's like sitting there, like just looking around. He can't believe where he is, because he's like, Ramon Sessions or somebody came up and started talking to him, and he's like, what's going on? So then Chris walks by, and obviously I'm like, oh my God, like Chris Miller, he's always on TV. He looks at me and goes, you're a star. And then my dad's like, what did he say to you? And I'm like, Dad, like, remember when you were complaining that I don't pay attention to the games and I'm on Twitter all the time? I'm like, I'm not doing this for no reason, okay? Like, I was like, he knows me. He knows me. So I felt so cool when that happened. So that was Chris.
Well, you are. I mean,
that was a great day.
Not only am I a star, but I know stars when I see them.
I was so floored. I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, did you see that? He's like, yeah, I can't believe he said that to you. And I'm like, So I got my moment with my dad for
there
that.
You go.
So anyways, you've had, did I hear that correctly? 24 years with the Wizards or something like that?
14 years with the Wizards, 24 years in the business altogether. Yeah.
Okay. So can you give us like your top 3 like memorable moments, whether they're big or small? I know you talked about the eras you've been through earlier, but do you have any specific moments that you always like are fond of?
So before I came here, does that count, or just being on the Wizards beat?
Why don't we do before you came here too?
I think like LeBron's first game in Cleveland was amazing, right? He was the kid of Akron, just 30 minutes down the road, and got drafted by really the hometown team. And I just remember that first game. He was in Sacramento, and just the attention that he was getting. We all kind of laughed in Cleveland because we had been a part of that for 3 years before. But it was kind of funny, like, wow, the national media is really all over LeBron, and he put on the show. I think that's up there. Here, I would say John hitting that shot, game 6 against the Celtics to force game 7, just being on the baseline and watching that play develop. And it was a broken play. Remember, the play was designed for Brad, and John was just like, man, forget it. I'll go get it. And Otto passed it to him, and he hit that shot. And I just remember having an out-of-body experience because I was just like, don't cheer, don't jump. And I was like, man, forget this. And I just remember just this fist pump, and my shoulder was like, why did you do that? I just remember just being like, yeah, we going to effing Boston. And my shoulder was like,
here we go.
That was really, really, really a cool moment. And maybe the one that wasn't cool, but it was one where my father instincts kicked in, was the Maya game. And that was hard because you could kind of like see him before the game when Maya passed away, and he just wasn't himself. You can just tell he was just kind of like just going through the motions. And I didn't want to talk to him. I normally would talk to him before every game, even if it was like 30 seconds, you know, him flipping me off, or I'd flip him off back, or he'll pump my ear, something, right? It was always something. But that day, I really didn't want to say anything. I wanted him to be in his thoughts. And then he had an unreal game, right? Unbelievable game. We beat the Celtics. And I remember the producer in my ear was like, do you want to get John? And I was like, yeah, let's see if he'll do it. And he wanted to do it. And I remember the first question, he was fine. And I don't know why I asked this, but I said, she really touched your heart, didn't she? And he lost it. And that's when the experience of journalism kicks in, because most people would have asked another question, and he's clearly not in the position of answering it. And then the father in me kind of kicked in, and I just remember putting my arm on his back, and I just sent it back to, Buck and Phil, and he just walked away. And that was hard, but it was like, I'm glad it was me that did the interview, right? It was one of those where it's like, I wanted to be selfish because I wanted to make sure that he was okay. Right? Yeah. That was a really, I was just glad I was in that moment with him to help him kind of get through it.
I mean, it's that thing where you mentioned earlier, just treating these athletes like they're human beings, not every time you come home and your spouse or whoever asks you how work went, you don't always want to talk about it, or you're not always in a good mood. So, the fact that you were able to comfort him in such a difficult time, I mean, I'm sure that meant a lot to him. And I think that's great advice for all journalists who are watching right now. Just
you don't have to always do your job.
Yeah.
You can actually have some common sense.
Yes.
And Becca, it's funny you said that. Read the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just read the room.
Read the
room. Understand what's going on. Okay. Don't get caught up in your notepad, writing the questions down early and just sticking to the script. Sometimes you don't have to stick to the script.
You don't have
We
to.
know a lot of people who could. We know a lot of people who could use that advice. Not name dropping, but I'm just saying, if you guys are listening, Chris Miller said it, so not me.
I said it with my chest too.
You did.
That's right.
So, 25 games into the season. The Wizards have gone through the ups and downs, but have you been surprised by any of the athletes' performances? Is there a dark horse on this team? Like, what are you thinking as far as what you're shocked about the most?
This is gonna sound like obvious, and you ladies might be like, "Come on, Chris, you gotta do better." But damn, Brad is on one right now.
Brad is killing.
Brad.
True. Yeah.
I mean, is he not just wrecking the league? And it's coming from
everything.
I know where it's coming from too. Like you guys know he's quiet, he's reserved, he's all this other stuff, but there's like this inner dog in him, and he is so mad at the league and the media and everybody that was talking that noise last year and didn't give him his flowers last year. So we go into this season, and I remember him telling me, he was like, "I'm gonna wreck the league this year."
Just like that.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Like, what was wrong? He was like, he wanted all the smoke. So it's funny because I've said this. It's like, well, what's changed? Like, he was doing this last year. The points are up, but the way he was playing, he played like this last year. What changed was the national media spending all of that time trying to get him out of town. They ended up doing what?
Keeping
watching the games.
Oh.
They were actually watching the games and keeping him here.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I don't think many of them was paying attention last year. Was watching the Wizards games. But now
you have to.
You want to get him out of here, and then you ended up watching the games, and you're like, "Damn, ooh, he's pretty good."
And now he's leading the All-Star votes for guards. Like,
it's about time. You guys made that mistake last season, so now we're finally getting the attention for Brad that he deserves. So
yeah, and the fact he's got more votes than Kyrie, I was like,
yeah, well deserved. And Chris, I know we all remember this. Remember, Brad went through his series of injuries.
He did.
And there were jokes, glass man and all that. So I'm like, Brad is out here for all the naysayers. He's shutting it all down.
Yeah, he put the work in too. When he came into the league, he kind of evolved as. Remember, he was just a shooter. Remember, everybody was like, "Oh, he just shoots the ball. He's from Florida. He's a shooter. He works well with John." Right. Well, this is year 9, and he's the captain now. Right. Captain Phillips, that movie, I'm the captain now. He's the captain now because he has evolved so much as a player. And you want to talk about having some cute kids. I mean, that Joker got some cute kids too, but he's more balanced. He's centered. It's not just basketball. It's going home to Kamaya and the boys. He actually has these two worlds that he can live in, and he can go home and not think of the game. He really doesn't watch games. He doesn't watch basketball. It's crazy. It's like, you don't watch basketball? Like,
right.
No. When I go home, I go home. I got diapers. I got time to be watching these games. But I just love how he's centered now. He's 27. 27. Lord have mercy. I didn't get centered until I was not 27. So I love where he's kind of evolved, and the game is at the all-time high, and the family life is right there too. So yeah, he has really taken quantum steps professionally and personally.
That is definitely true. So ending the Wizards section, I just want to ask you, Chris, I know on NBC Washington, I saw you, Wes, Jason, Brendan talking about if they should trade, what was that? You had some discussion about the Washington football team, about how if they should trade for
about Chase Young.
Yes.
For Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you guys are always talking about some hot takes. I know that wasn't your idea because you're the smart one. So what is your hot take for this Wizard season? Do you have any hot takes?
I think Brad will finish in the top 5 of MVP voting.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That is a very good one.
I think the fact that what he is doing, I think they're going to start winning more.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I mean, it's I don't know how long this season's going to be though, because the second half of that schedule hasn't been released yet, and these COVID numbers are getting better, but this new variant that's out there is scary. So I would say hopefully by the end of this first half of the season, Brad is turning heads and really getting noticed. But to do that, Becca, they've got to start winning more games.
Right.
It's
Well,
not
they're
just
on a win
him.
streak now, so
They're on a winning streak. So hopefully we can take 3 in a row, 4 in a row, win 5
I
in a row.
know.
Make my
Keep
life
that-
easier.
keep it going.
Keep
Let's
it
win
up.
Denver. Well, I think that's a wrap. I mean, we've asked him pretty much everything.
Everything.
Right,
That's
guys?
it?
I mean,
Oh,
Well, I
listen.
mean, we do have one more for you, Chris. Like, we want to end it kind of how we started on a fun note. So let's go back to what Brianna said about you being a sneakerhead in your intro. I want to ask, do you have a top 5 sneakers of all
Ooh,
time for you?
yeah, we can do that.
And
All
give
right.
me the details, like the colors
Or
and the
3 to 5.
Okay. Number 1, always and forever, will be the Jordan Concord 11s, the patent leather black and whites. I mean, that's the one.
classic.
I don't care if it's got 23 on the back or 45 on the back. Those Concord 11s are it for me. I'm gonna go the Alt 4s, the Alt 4s Jordans. I like in the color of. No, I'll do Bread 4s. Those are red and black. I just like the design. I'm gonna go. Oh, you got to go to classics. So I like the Cortezes. You guys know the Cortez, the Nike Cortez. I like that in just a plain white. What's that? 3, 4. I'll go. Ooh, that's tough. Jordan 1s, the original ones, black,
Mine.
red, black, and white.
Classic.
That's
You
mine.
gotta go. You gotta go to the Jordan. Do y'all realize he wasn't allowed to wear those? He actually got fined the first year. It's crazy, right? Like the league was like, it was nuts. So he, Nike paid the fine, whatever. 5 to me. That's hard. I'll go to 6s, Jordan 6s. I like them in white and blue Jordan 6s.
Okay.
You notice a pattern there, like 4 to 5.
Yeah.
But we need that throwback, Chris. We need that your sneaker show that you used to have. We need that back.
Yeah.
Oh, Soul Talk. You want me to bring Soul Talk back?
Soul Talk. Yeah, bring it back.
Well, the problem is I can't get out of my house, man. This pandemic got me in here locked up.
You took pictures of my shoes at the game and they never made it to Soul Talk Instagram. I was so offended.
Well, here's what we'll do then. Take a picture of them same shoes and send them to me and I'll post it. I'll be like, hey, I forgot.
Yes.
Honesty. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you here. Please is there anything else you want like the viewers to know? Tell everyone where to follow you. I mean, I know they know, but
I'm at C Mills NBCS on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. See, it's like when you get your phone number. Like people ask you like what your phone number is. You like, I mean, I don't know. I don't call myself. Instagram. I'm at CDM 4 Life LIFE. And I'm just happy for you ladies, man. Listen, I'm trying to celebrate greatness. This is awesome that you have this platform, and keep doing your thing. It's a pleasure for me to be the first guest, but I ain't gonna be the only guest. You understand? And listen, I celebrate greatness, and I see greatness on this podcast. And the Triple Dub podcast is one that I'm gonna be downloading and subscribing, and you do the same.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Y'all heard him.
I don't even need to close out the show. Chris did it for me. Like he said, make sure you follow.
Yeah, I can do some promos. Look, just give me a couple dollars.
Yes, follow us at the Triple W Pod. You can find us on all social media platforms with that handle. And with that, it's episode 8 of the Triple Dub podcast. We will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Always. Got you.